Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Heslin, founder of the AI Conversation, the online community where people and organizations from all different backgrounds can come together and learn about how to use AI tools and share tips. So we all create a kind of best practices forum. For those of you who've been following along, you know that for the last 7 modules, we built an AI pyramid using animal metaphors. So we kind of mixed our metaphors, didn't we? We had the metaphor of the pyramid, but to explain each level of the pyramid, we used a member of the animal world with unique properties to explain that particular block in the pyramid. So let's just do a quick review of that before we move on to other AI technologies in the days ahead. So here's our pyramid, which we've gone over very thoroughly now. And at each level of the pyramid, we had a metaphor. So the metaphor from machine learning was the Clydesdale horse because it's a workhorse. It's big, it's strong, it's powerful. And that's what machine learning is. It's the bottom layer of AI, but it's also the workhorse of AI. It does the heavy lifting in terms of filtering data, scanning data, identifying patterns. Now, someone's going to say, well, every level of AI identifies patterns. Well, there's actually some truth to that statement, but where it begins at the very rock bottom is the what we call the heavy lifting, learning from data. And you see that here, systems that learn from data. That begins with machine learning, which is why we could call it the workhorse of AI, just like the Clydesdale. And one, but only one, real world example of that are buying recommendation systems. Maybe you've bought a lot of books on Amazon over the last few years. So you've noticed that when you go back to Amazon, it'll say to you, people who bought that book that you bought recently also like these other titles. So that's a very basic example of a machine learning application, but there are many machine learning applications. So we continued up the pyramid to neural networks and deep learning. So this is the level that is inspired by the human brain. And we said the octopus. The octopus. Why is the octopus the animal metaphor for neural networks and deep learning? Because just like an octopus has a neural center in its head, it also has neurons, neural networks in its tentacles. So it can think individually, but each tentacle kind of thinks, excuse me, it can think collectively, but each tentacle also kind of thinks individually. And just the way an octopus can adapt to different environments, neural networks in deep learning are also enormously adaptable to different applications. So between the way an octopus uses its brain and its adaptability, working with Claude.ai, we came back and said, sure, we're going to say neural networks and deep learning are like an octopus. One, but only one example of that are the voice assistants that we've started to use in our day-to-day lives, whether it's Alexa or Siri or any of the others. So as we continue up the pyramid, we got to expert systems. This is where you have a set of rules within a specific discipline. One that is getting to be very well known is, of course, in healthcare. Um, why did we choose the beaver as an example of expert systems? Because there's a specific rules-based process for building a dam. And the beaver builds the dam the exact same way, no matter what little bit of water it's building a dam on. So it requires an expert system. It requires to be adaptable to the environment, but build that dam the same way. So that's where an expert system is very similar. Regardless of the environment, it has to follow the rules-based decision making of that particular discipline. In this case, one real world example, but only one example, are medical diagnoses. And I had a doctor's appointment recently. It was using an AI tool to record our conversation and then make some comments about, I'm fine by the way, but then make some general comments about, well, my health. So then we continue our way up the pyramid to natural language processing. As you can see here, understanding human language. And working with Claude.ai, And we said, okay, let's go back and forth here and talk about different metaphors in the animal world for NLP. We agreed on the parrot because the parrot learns from us. The parrot can not only mimic our language, but to a limited extent, it can reply in language in the proper context with some understanding. To a great extent, no, it can't. But to a small extent, the parrot learns by listening to us. Natural language processing is trained on enormous amounts of data, as are all AI applications. But to do that, once its training is done, it then gives it a basis for being able to communicate with us. And we have seen that now in some basic customer service applications where you're not talking to a person, you are talking to an AI generated voice, which in that limited context does understand what you're saying. Then we continue up the pyramid to, excuse me, to computer vision and working with Claude, going back and forth about the extraordinary capabilities of computer vision, we said the eagle. The eagle, with its extraordinary eyesight that can see the smallest of prey from hundreds of yards away, maybe half a mile away as it's circling high above. Computer vision has that kind of precise vision so that it can be used in a whole variety of applications. We're using it here. One, but only one, real world example is medical imaging. A computer vision based system can scan millions of CAT scans or MRI scans, x rays. No doctor could look at that many images no matter how long their career. But by using computer vision to scan medical images, it can pick up on the most minute details that even the most trained, experienced doctor might miss, leading to a lot of opportunity, a lot of possibility for early detection in things like cancer. So computer vision and the eagles and was the perfect metaphor. And of course, the real world example, but only one, is medical imaging. And then we get to the top. With the top of our pyramid and AI robotics, there's any number of examples of AI robotics, and we'll talk about just one of them here in a second. But you see, we chose the ant. The ant at the top of our pyramid is the metaphor for AI robotics. And the metaphor really is quite striking. Ants have their sensors that bring in data, quote unquote, from the environment all around them, just like AI robotics do through a whole range of sensors. And then the ants make decisions based on that environment, just like AI robotics do. And then after they make the decision, they move. They move through an environment. Now theirs is a grassy field or it's their ant colony, but the robotics, the AI enabled robotics, have to move through a hospital or through a warehouse or some kind of environment where there are people around. So the information flow through an ant is actually very similar to the information flow through an AI-enabled robot. Now you might say, well, there's any number of metaphors for that, and yes, there are. Except an ant can pick many, many times its own weight. So can a robot. Ants are enormously adaptable. The robots can be trained to do any number of tasks. So it seemed like a very apt metaphor for the top of our pyramid, and we're going to go with autonomous vehicles for one, but only one example of an AI-enabled robot. Now, there's something very important to know about our AI pyramid, that this AI pyramid is a snapshot. This is a snapshot of today. And we'll tell you very candidly, there are people who know AI extremely well who would debate our definitions. They would debate some of our real world examples. And that debate is valid because, as you can see here in the pyramid, every layer depends on the one below it. You can't write an expert system AI application without including neural networks, which has to include machine learning. You cannot write a computer vision application without NLP, which cannot be done without expert systems, which cannot be done without neural networks and deep learning, which cannot be done without machine learning. But there are people who would look at our pyramid and say, that might be a little too stratified because they actually integrate and overlap in a number of ways. And that would be a correct observation. But for what we tried to do here in our AI 101 series was just to break down some of the basic concepts of what we're looking at in terms of artificial intelligence. But a very important thing to remember is that AI is going to change and evolve and change and evolve and change and on and on. We could do this presentation again a year from now, and this might look very different. A friend of mine who calls himself a futurist, who says the only reason there isn't something above AI robotics on the pyramid is we haven't thought of it yet. So this man who studies technology, society, trends, he fully expects the pyramid to keep growing. And he might very well be right. So hopefully in our AI 101 series, we've helped give you some understanding of the basic concepts that go into an artificial intelligence application. So, hope you've enjoyed it. Please always feel free to leave comments. My name is Jack Heslin. It's been a lot of fun bringing you this series. I am the founder of the AI Conversation. Why the AI Conversation? Because what you think matters in how this technology is deployed in society. So join the AI conversation. Check us out at www.theaiconversation.com. Thanks very much and stay well. Bye-bye.